Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast, where each week we speak with brands, icons, innovators, and trailblazers within the fly fishing industry, exploring both the successes and failures they've encountered along the way to become who they are today. But first, if you have not yet subscribed to the podcast or joined our email list, please do so by going to the flyfisherinsiderpodcast.com, or you can also find us on Instagram at Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. Now let's begin. Today our guest is Luke Winkler. Luke is a product manager and public relations for Riversmith. Riversmith makes a fly rod travel system that secures your fly rods to various vehicles such as boats, cars, or helicopters. Luke is a former fly fishing guide that made the change to help lead the team at Riversmith. Luke, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here today.
Perfect. I know you guys are quite busy over at Riversmith and you're doing such good stuff. But before we get into the company, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up in central Wisconsin, a little town called Nagusa, a couple thousand people up there, but grew up being outside, grew up fishing. It's always been one of my passions. I've really made the transition from, growing up in a boat with the family, dunking worms over the edge, to fishing for muskies as I grew older. And then when I made the trek out to Colorado, it seemed like fly fishing was the way to go, and haven't looked back since then.
Cool, I like it. Now, I know you were a guide in your earlier days, early career, before starting at Riversmith. Can you tell us a bit about your guiding experience and how long you guided from and what got you into it?
Sure. So I actually moved out to Colorado to guide. I graduated college, and actually before I even finished all my finals, I had to take a couple tests early so that I could get out to Colorado for the first season I started, which was back in 2007, I believe, and moved to central Colorado and just started finding seasonal work as a guide. Guided everything from climbing to backpacking to fly fishing to big game hunting, and spent the better part of a decade in some way, shape, or form working in those industries. Loved my time, wouldn't trade it for the world, especially those years when I really was full-time guiding between Colorado and Oklahoma, just following seasons. It was fantastic, learned a ton, met some amazing people. At some point, started to get tired of life on the road and wanted to settle down, look for a more steady paycheck, more steady work, a house to live in instead of a vehicle. And that's kind of when I started looking for new careers, and ended up finding myself in Boulder, Colorado, and shortly thereafter, Riversmith followed.
Awesome. And I'm going to touch base on that. But before I do, I wanted to ask you really quickly, you mentioned that you had some favorite parts about guiding. Can you share with us a quick favorite part that you had about guiding?
Oh, sure. So I've always loved teaching, and before I started guiding, years before, I was kind of lining myself up to be a teacher in some way, shape, or form, in more of a traditional academic setting, and I really found that in guiding. So anytime I could teach someone about where we were, whether it was as simple as animal habits, something about the local river system, or the land that we were hunting on, if I could teach them a skill, that was incredibly rewarding. And I got to see that almost daily as I was guiding. And that's one of the things that kept me going, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. It's really cool. The conservation side plus the instructional side of guiding is definitely, I could see how it's rewarding. So then you left guiding, you're in Colorado, you're in Denver, and then you joined Riversmith. At what stage was the company Riversmith at that point?
So it wasn't even an idea. I started working for the company that Riversmith was born out of. There was a group of us within this company that all enjoyed fishing a ton, had different experiences coming in, but we all found ourselves at the same manufacturing company in Boulder, unrelated to the fly fishing scene at all, but we had this idea, and Riversmith was actually born out of that office, and we used a lot of the shared resources to, design the product, create the product, and really kick things off.
So it sounds like you were like early stages, like you guys were ground floor, and it was some of your friends or coworkers that got together and formed this business. Why did you choose to be a part of this team as well?
Well, when I had that carrot dangling in front of me to jump back into the fly fishing industry, it was really a no-brainer. I mean, there was a lot of excitement about creating a brand. There was so much really creative license given about who we wanted to be and at that time, it was such a need in the market. Anything that we could do to help the industry along, I thought was going to be fantastic. And then again, the idea of just being able to really build something from scratch was a unique experience that I was more than excited to jump on board with.
You know what, Luke? I want to shift to Riversmith and the products that you guys are that you create and the brand that you've become. For the anglers that are out there that might not be aware of what your brand is and who you guys are, can you, in your own words, tell us a little bit about the company and who and what you do there?
So Riversmith was born out of a need. What we wanted to do is really maximize the time and enjoyment that people have on the water, whether that's rivers, lakes, streams, saltwater, wherever you may be. We wanted to connect with you. I've had the great pleasure of fishing a lot of places around the country and around the world, and love what different areas have to offer. So the name Riversmith is, obviously based around our home in Colorado, with the rivers being such a large part of our life. But we wanted to appeal to fly fishermen everywhere. And the products that we make, the really rooftop fly rod carrying systems, a way to securely transport your fully rigged, ready to fish rods from spot to spot or from house to spot, house to boat, whatever it may be. We see that as a way to just maximize people's time on the water. None of us get to fish as much as we'd like to, so taking advantage of every minute that's available, making the most of those opportunities we have to be on the water is one of our biggest goals.
What's some of the technology that goes into your travel systems that you have, like your rod travel systems? There's got to be technology behind it. You don't just make a product and say, let's strap it on the roof of a car and drive down the highway at 100 miles an hour, right? So there's got to be some kind of safety and technology that's behind it. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So we had the privilege, again, as I said, Riversmith was born out of another company with some shared resources in the beginning, especially, and we were able to work with an incredible engineering team. Every part, every component of the River Quivers was designed to function as it does in the system. We weren't just pulling aluminum pieces from somewhere and pre-made components from elsewhere and bolting them together and calling it our product. We designed every piece, have a custom aluminum extrusion that's designed to be protective and rigid and light and strong, make the most of the space. All of our injection molded parts. A lot went into deciding what material that was going to be made out of, and every little groove and ridge and whatnot in that part is made for strength and durability and function, right down to the rivets that hold it together and the towers that keep it on your roof rack. So all of that was hand chosen. Some had a lot of trial and error involved in it, and then tested, of course, in both the laboratory setting and, most importantly, we got them out in the field for people to beat up, tell us what they liked, tell us what they didn't like, and improve upon.
Tell us about some of the field testing that you do. Like what were you testing for? Like durability, strength, the rod storage components. Like just walk us through. I'm just trying to picture how you're going to create the testing to make the product that you guys make, the end product, which is a phenomenal product, right? So how did you get there? You must have had a few prototypes in the meantime. So
absolutely. So to back up just half a step, it all started in the lab. As you alluded to, we're not going to have a 45-pound set of tubes with $6,000 worth of rods in it, driving down the highway without a lot of work before that. So we started in the laboratory and did all sorts of different climate testing, vibration testing, and really made sure that the things were durable and were going to stand the rigors of whatever they may see on the roof of a car. And then the fun part, of course, was being able to actually put them on those cars, get them out in the hands of some different guides that were using them daily in some rough terrain, and load them up with our fishing gear and have the excuse to go on some wonderful trips all over the place and see how they actually function in the real world when we were off-roading with our fly rods in them, when we were able to hit speeds on the highway for hundreds and hundreds of miles as we trek to some of our favorite fishing spots. And more importantly, what we learned in the field is when we actually tried to put rods in and out, what happened, and when it rained out, when it got cold out, when it was hot out. Again, what we saw and all of that led to the final product that is meant to kind of in all scenarios, in all environmental conditions, for a whole bunch of different rods, protect them and transport them safely and securely.
I agree. And I just want to touch base further on that and to dig a bit deeper for those that might be wondering, because I know out here in Canada, it's either extremely hot or extremely cold. The plastic might discolor or fade or even warp, right? And if I got, like you said, $6,000 worth of rods in there, one of my biggest investments in fly fishing, like your system actually prevents that from happening, right? And I want to ensure the listeners that you guys have done that technology and you've gone to that extreme. Has there been any flaws or anything that you've know of that have come back that you guys are working on, or concerns?
In the final product that we ended up shipping to fly shops and delivering to customers, we addressed everything that we had found. So one of my favorite stories about the development is about the liner. So this is, of course, lined from reel to rod tip to protect those rods through vibration, through use. And I think we went through 6 different, basically, liner materials or revisions. Some failed in lab testing, some failed in field testing, but it was the small things. It would
Mm-hmm.
absorb too much water, and then when it got cold, it would freeze and change in shape or size. When they'd swing from -10 degrees to 80 or 90 Fahrenheit, we would see them change in shape a little bit, that thermal expansion, and then we'd see negative side effects from there. Some weren't as protective on the rods. Some would catch hooks as you're putting streamers in and out. So yeah, we went through all these different cycles, and the product that we actually shipped was really checking all the boxes we wanted to. We're really happy with the way that turned out. And on that note, surely down the road, so we've only been a company for 8 months as far as shipping product and selling product through fly shops to the public. If something were to happen in 3 years, and we say, oh, there's an issue that we didn't know about, and it took this long to pop up, we're the company that's going to address that immediately. Fix it through design change, excellent customer service to support everyone along the way. And while we don't foresee that happening, it's, I think, exciting to us and hopefully reassuring to everyone we're working with that that's who we are.
I agree. You can't just make a product and, like I said, strap it to a car and say, here's my rod walker, right? It's just not feasible. So without the proper testing. So I do want to shift. You did mention that you said that you're an earlier company and a newer company, and I do know that. But what are some of the challenges that you faced earlier on as a company and as a group collectively?
Absolutely. So we're still facing many of those challenges. One of them is awareness. Even in today's very connected age of social media and whatnot, this industry in particular, there's some places, some corners that it's just hard to spread the word to. So one of our goals in the very beginning was making sure people knew we existed and what the product line was, how it could help them, and we were confident if we did that effectively, then things would go well. People would see the benefit of what we were making, see the benefit of working with a company like ours, and see what a great product it was. And that's still the challenge. How do we let everybody know, that we're here, that we're making a great product for them? So that's one of the biggest ones.
Well, can you share with us how you're going about combating that challenge?
Yeah, it's a work in progress, but so our model of working through retail locations is far and away one of the biggest ways. Even fly fishermen that aren't on social media, don't sign up for emails or check their emails lately, or read the latest publication, digital or print, are going to stop in their fly shop regularly during their fishing season, which is one of the great things about our industry. We could have a whole other conversation, I'm sure, about the relationships that are formed in fly shops and how great of a experience it is to have a good local fly shop. But so goal number one is making the fly shops be aware of who we are and that we are here to work with them. And then their customer base, whether it's the day after they start carrying the product or 3 months down the line when fishing is in full swing, that's going to work for us. And that's been our first approach. And of course, there's many others. We've been active in conservation and donating to different causes for.
I'm going to touch base on that in a second here,
Okay.
because I know you guys are actually so actively involved, and I don't want to give away the farm here, but yeah, no, it's definitely other ways that you guys are doing it. Like I know you have your social media aspect, and I know that
Yep.
you are involved. Would you say that the brand, looking back at the brand, and your young company, yet you say that you're trying to get traction and whatnot. I feel, and I'm sure other listeners and other people within the industry that love your product, respect the product, and know the product, feel that you guys are growing in a niche where others have failed. Why do you think you're growing so fast in that niche?
Again, not to beat a dead horse here, but I think it is our involvement in the industry. So again, unlike many industries that have gone different directions, the the fly world still revolves around that local shop, whether it's for information or product. And I think our support of the local shop and our dedication to make sure we take care of them and have a good product available for them has been one of the keys for sure, probably the largest so far.
All right, let's tell people what you guys are doing on the side here. Your good hard work that you're doing for the communities. I know you're involved with many projects. What are a few of those projects?
So we've been able to work with the Mayfly project. They were one of the very first organizations out there in the industry that we were able to donate to. We've developed a pretty tight relationship with them, and it's been, I mean, just fantastic getting to play a small part in all the great things that they do. Um, we've been involved a bit again with Project Healing Waters. Continue to talk to them. We've been able to donate to different water conservancies through events that we've held or partnered with, both locally and
Mm-hmm.
and on the coast. We recently held an event down in Florida, which was fantastic for the water keeper down there, and it's fantastic to be able to, again, just kind of spread out instead of staying local in a Boulder bubble, which is pretty easy to do. There's a lot going on here, but really being able to branch out and look outside of ourselves and see what people are doing all around the country and all around the world to impact people's lives through fly fishing, do good for the environment through fly fishing, and again, it's our goal to be a part of that, and we've been honored to be able to work with the folks we have so far.
When you say it's our goal, is that like a company goal or a personal goal, or is just everyone on board sitting there collaboratively saying, "Hey, we want to do this. Here's the brand we want to work with this year or stick with or whatnot." Walk us through. Tell me what's going on with that.
So it's both. Personally, it's incredibly important for me to be able to pass on what I can to the next generation by taking care of the resources we have, whether that's again protecting water quality or working with certain species to make sure that they stick around for the next generation to catch. That's incredibly important to me personally. But again, when we had our little brainstorming sessions, when Riversmith didn't even have a name yet, it was just an idea of something we were going to do. There was obviously talk about the product, a lot went into the design, but there was just as much, if not more, in those meetings about who we were, what's our story, and for a story to hold any weight, it has to be something that is true and people that are working with it are dedicated to. So all of these like-minded people from different walks of life came together to form the brand of Riversmith, tell the story of Riversmith, and one of those big things is to lead the industry through example and to give back. So that's again a company goal that we've done a good job so far of sticking to.
I see that for sure. You guys are a close knit group and whatnot. So, I also wanted to ask you, with Riversmith, what challenges have you guys faced socially as a company?
Ooh, that is a good one.
Let me re-ask this. How is the fly fishing community accepting your product? How's the reception been? Has it been mixed reviews, great reviews? Walk us through that.
So we've had a warm welcome, which again, people have asked me in all different places I've been, what's been your favorite part of working with this? And there's multitudes I could choose from, but the one that really stands out is the warm welcome we've received and the relationships that we've been able to build as a company and I've built personally over the short amount of time that Riversmith has been around. So it's been obviously everywhere you go. There's people that like what you do, people that don't like what you do, and
Mm-hmm.
there's still niches within any industry. But the overwhelming theme has been a kindness, a warmness. Thank you for doing what you've done. The fly shops, of course, are fantastic to work with, and there's been great reciprocity and the goodwill between us and them. So it's really been an enjoyable experience thus far.
Yeah, you guys are well received in my opinion, and from what I can see, like on social media and from all the shows and just word on the street, you guys are just well received. Great company, great to work with. So again, that's just that's industry talk here. So I did want to ask you about your social media aspect. Like, do you find your social media pages that you're using, your social media outlets, are they helping your company grow your brand or getting to different reaches, or is it actually hindering your brand? Like, again, tell us how this is where your challenge is and what is good and bad about this for Riversmith.
Sure. So obviously, as we all know in this day and age, having or not having a social media is probably not even a question or a choice
That's
anymore.
true.
So, having our accounts was a necessity. I am not the company expert on working with those, although I've been able to learn a lot. And, it's obviously been helpful. Some of the most helpful things we've done with our social accounts is partnering with other established and respected brands within the industry. We've been able to collaborate on some different giveaways or just share content back and forth with some wonderful people out there. They've been very gracious and just letting us be a part of what they're doing. And that, of course, has been fantastic. We've seen some wonderful growth. We have excellent engagement on our channels, which is fantastic. When we talk about struggles, it's a silly one, but I've put a lot of my own, figuratively at least, blood, sweat, and tears into this company to try to make sure that it is everything it could be. And no matter what you're doing, you could probably be, feeding children in Africa, and somebody would say something negative about it when it comes to social media. So when those pop up, it's kind of a personal struggle, but learning to live with those, figure out what's actually legitimate and what's just people making noise on social media has been something I'm learning about, kind of an art, I guess, that I'm developing in. But all in all, it's been great.
Luke, I know you're a big advocate for fly shops, like the bricks and mortar fly shops, and you've talked about it a few times in this interview already. Why are you such a big advocate for them? And what is the local movement? Like you really promote the shop local movement within your area as well. Why is this so important to Riversmith and you personally?
Sure. Well, I can definitely speak for me personally. I learned to fly cast at a local fly shop. I was that guy that had never really had any experience with it. Walked into a shop, obviously knew nothing, and said, I want to learn to fly fish. It's what I need to do. I don't know anything about it, and they took good care of me. I'm still in friends to this day with the manager of the shop at the time, and that's been almost 15 years ago or something like that. He took me in the back alley, taught me how to cast on a rod, sold me a setup that was incredibly affordable, and was honest and said, "You're going to learn to fish on this, then you're going to want to buy something else," and that cycle will repeat over and over. But that was fantastic. I travel a lot on my own, and every trip I've taken since that first day in the fly shop, I stop into the local fly shop. I hear their story. I pick up the flies I need for that area. I get the local info. I've gained so much knowledge of where to fish, how to fish, caught countless fish because of the things that good fly shop employees had said. So they're just vital for our industry still in an age of exploring things on Google and doing it. There's still kind of an irreplaceable aspect in our industry for the local shop. And the only way that intangible thing will continue to exist is by consumers shopping at their fly shop. So that's one of the reasons that I'm so adamant that we support that industry. Riversmith as a whole, of course, had a lot of that going through it, but there's also some wonderful business studies out there where a lot of great brands that have chosen to kind of go direct over the standard retail model or the specialty store model have, in the end, not done that well. So there's this trend that keeps repeating itself over and over where, just going to a retail network makes sense and usually leads to a more successful business.
You answered the question for me, right, about how we can correct the problem. It's continuing to shop there. It's our consumer patterns for sure. And like you said as well, you don't get that human connection of on the internet of someone bringing you in the alley and teaching you how to cast, right? It's just not going to happen. So you can read all you want, but I'm an advocate as well for supporting fly shops. I do love fly shops. So and you learn so much. Like I like that, as you can tell, I like to talk. So for sure, I'm with you guys on that one. I know you guys are looking to get Riversmith products into many of the shops in the nation and up here in Canada as well. You guys offer great wholesale products and options and whatnot. How can you explain a bit about how that works for anyone that might be listening?
Sure. So we always urge the consumers out there to see if their local fly shop has them. We do have a local dealer locator on our website. It's, in all honesty, still information, and it's not necessarily the most up to date day by day, but it does give you a good feel. But it's always worth a call or just a swing into your local fly shop. if they don't have the product yet, we would love for people to ask for it in the shop. And then as far as the wholesalers accounts go, it's pretty simple. We've got a team of internal sales reps that are awesome guys, like to fish, know the product, are incredibly easy to work with, and it's as simple as getting hooked up with one of them through a quick email or phone call to the company and go through all the terms and conditions, and it's a pretty low barrier to entry. We just, again, really want the product to be in shops. We know it's not a fit for every region in the world, but I think there's an awful lot that can benefit from what we have, and we want to support those shops and being able to offer it to their customers out there.
Speaking of regions in the world, do you guys ship worldwide?
We do. So right now, of course, most of what we've done is in the U.S., but we do have a good handful of units and some shop presence, I believe, even in Canada. We've got some lodges and outfitters down in Patagonia that are using our products, and a few other kind of Central American outfitters, guide services that are using our products as well. We've talked about what's next. We're having conversations with people across the big ponds. And again, it's a very niche piece of equipment, really based around Western fishing. And again, we're seeing benefits elsewhere, but there's some hurdles to overcome when it comes to both shipping and product use in other parts of the world. But it's creeping out there, and we're excited about some of those markets out there, like Australia, New Zealand, and some of the fisheries they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure your products will be well received there as well. So you mentioned what's next. What is next? What's next for Riversmith, say in 5 to 10 years moving forward? What would your ideal next be?
Well, that's a good long term question. So I think in the very near future, say the next year or so, we're continuing to refine and expand upon our collection of fly rod transportation systems, and then beyond that, the company, I guess, goal or mantra has been to engineer solutions for fly fishermen. So as we go out on the river and we don't have a product that does something that could help us out, or we don't have a product that's as good as it could be to help us out there on the river, to make a more efficient use of our time, to help us catch more fish at the end of the day. That's kind of where Riversmith sees itself expanding into. So the product line will grow, and everything, again, will be based around these refined and engineered solutions for fly fishermen of all different, environments and species and things like that.
Luke, I'm just gonna throw it out there. I'm sure you're gonna have a no here. Anything you can tell us about Top Secret right now?
Oh man, unfortunately, I can't right now, but I would say that there will be something new at
I
IFTD this year, which is October. So the plan is to have a new product there. And if you're able to go to IFTD, make sure you stop in and see us in Denver. And if not, look at all the media assessments or reviews right after, and you should see what we've got going on. So just wait a few more months.
I'm gonna throw this out there on air right now. I'm gonna say you're gonna win an award at IFTD 2019 this year for sure. I definitely can see that on the horizon. I'm currently writing a blog on top picks of who I think is gonna win, and you guys are in there. I've written it. It's on our computer here, and I know you're going to be one of our contenders for that as well. So it's funny you mentioned that. That was coming up, so for sure. Luke, I want to ask you, what would you say your biggest takeaway has been so far, just in general, from the business, from fly fishing, from guiding, just everything in general that you've learned within this industry?
Man, it's going to go back to relationships. So through guiding, through Riversmith, through the educational aspects I've been able to be involved with, in an age where people are becoming a little bit disconnected from each other, fly fishing is something that brings us together. I've got, people that are lifelong friends, the guys that stood up in my wedding, people I talk to on the phone or text or email weekly are generally the people I fish with all across the country, all across the world in a few short days of time on a skiff together. I've got friends now that no doubt will be lifelong. And that's something special that happens in our industry that, I think keeps it going, but I really want people to be aware of.
Yeah, that's so cool for sure. All right, Luke, I do always ask my guests this one question, and I have to ask you here. What's one thing you would change within the fly fishing industry?
Um, so that's going to be on the other side of that same coin we just talked about. It's like I said, social media is something I've been learning a lot about,
Mm-hmm.
and was never incredibly engaged pre Riversmith, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Not even personally, but the idea that I'm gonna go fishing to any place, whether it's a river down the road or the Seychelles across on the other side of the world, and I'm gonna do that so that I can tell people I did that is a tough pill for me to swallow. I've been tempted by that a few times and taken trips where I really just wanted to get a picture of what I was there to do to show people, and it detracts so much from the experience. It detracts from the beautiful place, the relationships that you could have built. Just the pressure of needing that to happen, or it's a failure of a trip. That's a tough one to be okay with when there's so many other wonderful things that can happen. It's unfortunately where a lot of things are heading, but it's probably one of the toughest things that I've experienced in the industry so far is seeing how commonplace that actually is, and even when I was guiding, having to deal with that occasionally, guys were more interested in something other than the experience of fishing and just building a relationship with the people they were there with.
I guess getting that selfie in is just more important, right?
That's right, exactly.
I'm sure you lost a lot of or you watched a lot of strikes go or something like that because they're trying to get a selfie. So you know
Yep.
what? Like, I agree. I mean, social media has definitely changed the landscape of not just a daily life, but of our sport. Right? It is completely changed the landscape of that, and I don't know what direction, if it's going to go bad or worse. I don't know. It's not for me to say either. So I just can wait and see. So cool. All right, just to recap here. Any last words for our listeners?
And if you can fit it in, we've got so we talked earlier about some of the partnerships we've been able to make, some of the relationships we've been able to build, the importance of local shops, and we actually just released a couple weeks ago a really fun short video series. It's about 3 to 4 minutes per video, just highlighting these stories that are out there in the industry about local shops, about people doing good in the industry. You can find those on our website, on YouTube. It's called Riversmith Presents Crosswaters. Crosswaters is the little film series, and I think that really gives a window into who we are, who we want to be.
Awesome. I'm gonna make sure I put that in the show notes as well as what is where we can find you and whatnot. So where can we find you, Luke?
So riversmith.com is going to be the website with all of our product, our story, some fun info on it about who we are, what we do, as well as finding the local dealers, of course. And then Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. We are Riversmith USA.
Luke, you know what? I've had such a great conversation. I want to thank you for being our guest today on the show, and I want to thank the listeners as well. So thank you, Luke.
And thank you very much for your time.